Hello and welcome back to the podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, my name is Julie Fernandes and I run the Confident Parenting podcast over here on my little corner of the internet. And each week I try and bring you thought-provoking topics related usually to motherhood, but really universally can apply to life as well. And so today I was really thinking about something that was inspired by a conversation that I had with my husband. And we go back and forth about how best to use one's time, all the things that we have going on all the time. I think people wear this as a badge of honor, listing out all of their responsibilities. And one of the things that I said as part of my responsibility, besides looking after our 3 children, our dog, him traveling a ton, so I'm on my own a lot, this YouTube channel, the whole shebang. One of the things that I mentioned was our house. I was like, that's our 4th child, our home. And we're going through a bit of a transitional patch right now because we're renovating our house. So it is not complete and we have people here. Sometimes they just don't show up. If you've ever gone through a renovation, or maybe you had a better experience than me. Not that it's been bad, but it's just because I haven't done it before, I don't really know what to expect. Now I'm getting a little better at it, but they just don't show up. But that's part of the plan. It's not that they're absconding per se, or it's not that they're not supposed to. It's not that they're supposed to show up, but I just never know what is happening and what to expect. How noisy is it going to be that day? How dirty is it going to be? Can I park my car in the driveway? I've just learned to go with the flow. It's probably been a very good lesson for me in surrender a little bit, because things never go according to time. Even though things are going to be overtime, you still have to add on another 6 months to that. But anyway, this is not a conversation about renovation. It is a conversation about reframing how you look after your home. So in the previous podcast, I believe, the previous video, I spoke about how I'm an occupational therapist by training. I have over 20 years of experience. I also have 3 kids and I do coaching for moms. Okay, so as an OT, we are super into your environment and how that can help or hinder you. And I also spoke about in that episode that I feel like I've been failing you because I haven't been bringing that enough into what I'm putting out there and relating it back to how important that is. Like, I'm very grateful as an occupational therapist to have had the background and education that I've had, because it has 100% shifted the way that I see the world and like how I can analyze people and situations. And I thought, you know what, I need to take some of my own advice and I need to think about how my home can hinder or help our situation. And I feel like with moms, there's so much emphasis and guilt and shame around what your home looks like. Like, if someone had to just show up at your house, what would they think, or what do you think they would think? And it causes a lot of stress. And I've done a lot of videos in the past about decluttering and organization. I always joke that is my love language, because it is. I love that kind of thing. And I love living in a tidy, clean, organized home. And I know that is not always possible for us and not always possible for a lot of people to have this pristine, perfect house. And I'm not really here to preach that, but I want you to think of your home as another family member. And just like when you're having a hard time with a child, it can really hinder your happiness, your experience, your quality of life. Or a child that's behaving well, that's sleeping well, that's happy to go to school or transition from school to another activity. When your kids are doing well, they're not sick, you feel better. Like, it impacts everybody's mood, mental health, stress levels. And so I think when we consider that our home is another piece of this puzzle, and we actually recognize that how we live in our environment is important, we need to have standards. We can't live in a pigsty. I just don't believe people can thrive living in chaos and mess. Maybe as an adult, you can do that, but as a child, and as parents stewarding and nurturing children, I feel like we owe it to them to have their base standard a tidy and clean home. And as I said, this is not Pinterest. I mean, if I had to show you my kids' bedrooms, if they're playing something like Lego for a few days, it's going to be on the floor. Like, I will ask them to clean it up if it's been over a week and we need to vacuum their floors or something like that. There are things occasionally on the counter. It's not perfect. I could easily go around my home and start going nuts and like get lost. I was looking at my couch the other day and I'm like, oh man, I really need to wash these cushions, or it is not perfect. I don't want you to get the wrong impression, but I do think we need to have a level of pride in our homes. And as I said before, I've done lots of videos on how to declutter, how to keep your home tidy, and I honestly can talk about that all day, and I will if you want me to. You can also go back and watch some of those videos and get some inspiration, but you have to do it. You have to actually take the action. But I think sometimes when we're having a hard time with a certain area of our lives, like whether it's fitness or losing weight or getting onto a better sleep schedule or reading books more, it's one of the reasons, a key piece, I believe, that is missing and that is making us struggle is we don't understand the why. We don't know why we need to do this. Like we have maybe a superficial idea, but we're not really connected to that why, and therefore we don't value it. We don't prioritize it. We don't put the effort in. Something else that I want to say is that I think a lot of the time as moms, we struggle to keep the house picked up and clean and everything because we're doing it on our own. And we haven't integrated how we care for our home at a family values level. I was reflecting on this last night because I really treasure, even though I'm tired at this point, but I treasure our putting the house to bed routine, which includes putting the 3 children to bed and the dog and eventually ourselves. But it's also about resetting our home for the next day. Like we always, unless something catastrophic happens, but we're always doing one load of laundry at night. After the kids come home, we put all their school clothes in the washing machine, sports clothes, we do our clothes. We always do a load of laundry every day. And then what will happen, obviously, is that the laundry's finished and now you need to hang it up or dry it. And usually we line dry our clothes. I think that's a South African thing, but I just think because I live in a warm climate, if I have the ability to let my clothes dry overnight or in the sun, I will do that. But if we put them in the dryer, whatever, we're always closing that loop and saying goodnight to our home by doing a load of laundry, putting everything away. We are putting on the dishwasher or washing up all the dishes in the sink. I try my best to dry everything and put it away, reset things, clean up the counters, wipe things down. Nothing crazy, but I treasure this goodnight routine because it's pouring love and attention into our home, which, let's be honest, if we didn't have it, it would be like losing a family member almost, like it would be catastrophic if we didn't have a home. So I want to show through my actions, even though it's an inanimate object and it's a concept, the home, the house, I want to show my gratitude and appreciation because that comes back to me tenfold. Because then when I wake up in the morning, I have a clean slate when it's hectic. Like mornings are my worst. And I really want to shift that. School mornings, I should say, like when we need to rush. But it's so much better when the dishes are done, the lunch boxes are set out, their school uniforms are ready to go, their backpacks are ready, and it is a team effort. So my husband and I are usually, doing most of this turn down service for our house, but we get our kids involved to close the blinds, to pick up books. We were tidying up some toys that were in like the general area yesterday because we don't really have a playroom, so they kind of play in the lounge. We were just all contributing based on our ages and our, skill level to making our home neat and tidy. And I encourage my children / I ask them to, when they come home, they take out their backpacks. They have little cubbies to put their backpacks in, their shoes, their things. We are constantly reminding them to pick up their clothes because we respect the environment that we live in and we have standards. And I've noticed over the years, especially being married for a long time now, I don't know if that was my husband's default and perhaps my default comes from my parents of how I was raised. And this is how we value our things and we look after them and we don't leave clothes lying on the floor whatever it is, or it's just personality, or it's a combination of both. But I don't think he's naturally like that. And if any of my family members are watching, I'm sure they will chuckle. But I've noticed over the years that even he has embraced this methodology. Even he is able to tidy things up and put things away without me saying anything. It's just now become the standard. This is what we have to do to prepare for the next day. We tidy things up, we put things away, we take out things that we need, and we look after our home. And the same goes for fixing things that might break, because now we're homeowners and, things break a lot and we're renovating. So we're in we're in a bit of a chaotic state. It won't always be like this. I'm really hoping it's going to be over soon, but I can't live in the future like that. But we are really taking time and energy and money, resources to make our home work for us and hold it up to a certain standard. But it's not even about spending lots of money on your home. It doesn't, as I said, it's not supposed to look like a museum. It's not supposed to look like Pinterest. It's supposed to be lived in and appreciated, but not denigrated and not abused. And just like you would never do that with a child, you will try and meet all of their basic needs and then some. I feel like we need to have that for our home too. And if we shift how we feel about our home and appreciate it for what it is, all you have to do, which I don't recommend, but all you have to do is go on the news and see what is happening throughout the world and see people losing their homes on a hourly basis to appreciate what you have or to give you some perspective. And once you really ingrain that into your soul of, wow, I need to really treat my home with respect. I think putting in the effort to keep it clean and tidy and decluttered becomes easier because you have a higher purpose that you're working towards. It's not something that I think about all the time, but it just becomes ingrained in my subconscious to always, make my bed, to just do a general sweep of each room, to do regular declutters of each category of my house or room of my house so that I can easily maintain what we have, to have a space for everything. These are all things that there are hundreds and thousands of YouTube videos on how to declutter your home and keep it tidy. And I've done a lot of those as well. And those are important because that is the how. That is like how you get from A to B. And sometimes that's all you can do is you just need someone to guide you step by step. How do I just start? Like, how do I feel super overwhelmed? Yes, that piece is incredibly important, but connecting to the purpose as to why you even go to the effort in the first place. Like, why not just leave your bed unmade, right? Because you're just getting back into it at the beginning of the evening, right? Or the beginning of the night before you go to bed. Why even bother making it, right? What about your clothes on the floor? You're just going to use them again. Why not just leave them on the floor? Like, why go to the effort of washing them, drying them, and packing them and putting them away? Or, okay, fine. We're not going to say that you're going to wear dirty clothes. That's ludicrous. But why not just leave them all out? There's a reason why, if you look at a magazine and you see homes online or in a magazine, all the surfaces are clear. Like, if you've ever noticed a kitchen that's they're trying to sell a house for or something, there's going to be no clutter on there because it's more pleasing to us. It's calming to us. It aids us. It helps us as an environment to have a clean slate. And I go back and forth because I know that I'm biased and I like having things neat and tidy. That's how I best function. I almost can't do anything else until things are sort of in their place. And the irony is I would consider myself a creative person. Well, I consider everybody to be a creative person. And when I think about stereotypes of creative people, I think, okay, they're living in organized chaos, which I know people do. They know where everything is. My husband's a little bit like this. They know where everything is, but to me, it looks like a total mess. I'm kind of the opposite. I struggle to create and have space for new ideas and inspiration to come into my brain when I'm living in chaos. So I don't know, let me know if you relate to that, but I'm sure we all are wired a little bit differently when it comes to creating, which is what I believe, human beings are here to do. They are here to create. That is the one thing that we do differently from other animals and species. All's to say that when you put in the work and you understand the why and you connect that as your house being a vital member of your family, things will flow more easily. And you will be able to maintain what you're trying to achieve because you're connected to your purpose and your why. I also feel like in this season of life, if you're in a similar season to me, where you have younger children and you're kind of starting out with your family, like it's funny because, I don't consider myself to have super young children compared to someone that's just had a baby or has a 2-year-old, because my youngest child is 3, right? But to someone else who's already raised their children, or who has even teenagers or 20-year-olds, they feel like I'm right at the beginning of this parenting journey, like I'm just starting out. So it's just interesting, the perspective. But as someone in my stage of life, I spend so much time at home in a way. Our home is our anchor and our base. And obviously having small kids, they're spending all of their time at home. They're not staying over at other people's places. They haven't left the home. Like, we're all so connected to our house and we spend so much time here. I want it to be a welcoming place that just runs on autopilot and serves us, which is maybe not the analogy of a child. I don't expect a child to serve us, but you know what I mean? Like, when everything is running smoothly, you're not thinking about it as much. It's just default and subconscious. So I hope that helps you if you're struggling with like, why do I even bother? Like, my children are just going to destroy everything anyway, or just dump everything out. And yes, they do go through periods of doing that. And then they get older and they're a little bit more able to care for their things. And through you teaching them and modeling it every single day of their lives, they inherently start to just gravitate towards that as their normal. And then as they become older, they're able to contribute. They're able to follow instructions. Maybe they'll even surprise you and tidy up without you asking. But like, let's not go crazy over here. But that's the hope, right? That they will have a certain standard of living. It's funny because my son is now 9 years old, and I wouldn't say he's like super tidy. I think he's just a normal child that doesn't really care. And he's told me several times, I don't care if my clothes are folded up, or I don't care if I put them away or whatever. And I'm like, okay, fine. I get it. Maybe I wouldn't, that maybe I wouldn't as a 9-year-old also value that. Although I think I was the child that like color coordinated all of my books at a very young age. And I definitely alphabetized them. So I'm probably not a good comparison to him. But then I've had instances where he will spontaneously tidy up his room without me asking, because he feels the need to do it, because he feels like it's chaotic and he wants to be able to see what's going on. He wants to be able to find things. And that has nothing to do with me directly telling him. Now, I would like to think that it is the years of training and role modeling and just being persistent and, really, hey, please can you tidy your room, or let's tidy it up together, or I'm going to tidy it with you, tidy it for you, which is probably not the best option, but sometimes I just get annoyed and I do it. But, I'd like to think that those years of conditioning have led him to want a cleaner space sometimes, and maybe his threshold is probably a lot lower than mine. And that's okay. He's 9, he's a boy, we're different people. But it's just something to think about, that if you want your children to behave in a certain way as they become adults, while you have the most influence on them as young little ones, they're watching you, and you need to do what you think is the right thing for your family and set that family value, family tone. So I hope I've given you some food for thought. Please consider subscribing and leaving comments down below. If you're watching on YouTube, I think you can leave comments on Spotify as well. If you're watching on Spotify, let me know where you're watching or listening to this from. And if you have any other topics that you would like me to discuss, I would love to work on those for you. And we need to increase our standards as a society. I feel like we're tanking a lot. We're tanking a lot, if I'm honest. And so I think really what is going to change this world that we live in is the homes that people grow up in and the moms that run those homes. So I hope you're having a beautiful day, and I will see you very soon. Bye.